Welcome back. It is the home stretch of Eternal Weekend. We've got our top 8 for Vintage Champs. Quite the collection of players, and I finally figured out where we know Sullivan Brophy's name from.
Yeah, we keep seeing it and say, I know that name.
He's the guy that won the NYSE tournament.
So the most recent East Coast Vintage event.
It's like 150 players.
Won by Dredge.
Won by Dredge, a field full of shops, and one Dredge player in a top 8 full of shops decks. Just Sullivan Brophy was the Dredge player that won the Stacks Exchange.
I mean, if he can run it back to back, the recent Stacks Exchange and Vintage Champs.
Absurd.
Yeah, just incredible.
Absolutely incredible. So that's who Sullivan Brophy is. And yeah, I mean, the Dredge game that he played, I was talking to the workshop's opponent, he was just like, what happened to me?
Yeah.
Did I just embarrass myself? Maybe Gollum should have blocked Icarid on, the first game, but you played it for a race. The second game, though, was just, Sullivan just found lines and angles of attack that I haven't seen before.
Absolutely. Like, just knowing that the 3-land, 2
destruction spells, Ingot Chewer lands and a Dredger, I'll just discard to hand size, Dredge off my draw step.
And let's go.
He actually missed
a
Dredger, but still, just having the Ingot Chewer draw to blow up the threats, he was just able to race with Stinkweed Imp. Who does that?
He just knows the match well enough to know that that's enough. I don't have to mulligan for Bazaar right now against a deck with 4 Wastelands and a strip mine and probably Ghost Quarters in the board.
Truly crazy. He is paired against John Grudzina. Now, we haven't seen Grudzina, and so I actually think maybe we start on this match because Grudzina's the guy who's got Moat in his deck. This is Mana Drain, Flusterstorm, Force of Will, Mental Misstep, main deck Pyroblast, Control, a Narset, 2 Jaces, 4 Dak Thaden, 7 Planeswalkers.
Right. I mean, this is a very similar to a deck that on Friday, Mike Solimasi was telling me that this is kind of one of the ways to go. Like Moat main deck, you don't even have to play the other cards. The white, blue, red cards will search through enough of your deck that you'll get some one-ofs here and there. And he claimed it just worked.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen something quite like this. Kind of interesting. Jeskai control, I guess. We allowed to say Jeskai?
Yeah, I guess. That's very much what, I mean, once you
got a Narset in it.
Narset and Dak Thaden, I think we're allowed to say Jeskai control.
Meanwhile, there is a Mentor deck in this top 8. Michael Herbig is on Mentor. He's got, Plows, 3 copies of Monastery Mentor, 3 Dak Thadens, essentially Jeskai colored Mentor deck. That looks pretty solid. Michael Herbig is paired against Robert Green. That's the Grixis Thieves player that we saw. 61 card Miko Koro.
Yes.
Could be your vintage champion. Other pairings, the biggest names in this top 8, I think.
For sure.
I mean, Rich Shea, maybe Sullivan Brophy's going to turn himself into a big name. If he runs it back, he's definitely a name that people are going to remember for a long time. Rich Shea, obviously one of the pillars of the vintage community, has been for years. He's been a moderator on the Mana Drain forever, paired against Paul Mastriano. It is, though, a shops mirror.
Right.
I mean, I kind of want to watch the big names.
They're both on hangerback shops.
They're both on hangerback shops. I don't know that we want to start there. It's probably going to be pretty slow and grindy. Maybe we'll get to them later. We're going to see one of them in the semifinals either way.
We're going to see one of them later.
And then the winner of that will play the winner of Brian Kelly and Ryan Eberhardt.
Right.
So Brian Kelly is the Oath player that we saw, Dragon Lord Salvager's Oath, and Ryan Eberhardt, Delver.
Oh, Delver. That was, people were asking me what the top 8 decks were between rounds.
There's one Delver. Now, that's a pretty good matchup for Oath. Brian Kelly has to like his chances. Delver has to win with creatures, and it takes several turns to win with them. So if you can stick an Oath, it is almost impossible to win with from the Delver side of things. There's more going on in the standings than just that, though. Brian DeMar's 9th, Josh Ravitz 10th, Kevin Cron 14th, Greg Mitchell 15th. Stephen Menendian, we didn't talk about him a whole lot, because he picked up a couple of early draws, and then he lost to Josh Ravitz in the middle of the tournament, but ran the table at the end to actually finish 22nd. He only lost once.
Right.
And I talked to him, he loved his deck. He played essentially like a Grixis Pyromancer deck, kind of like the Cabal Therapy list that we saw Matt Costa play that I played at the Vintage Super League, except Menendian added the broken cards. He went Yawgmoth's Will and put some of the more broken stuff in the deck to kind of have a little more top end, but within that basic shell. Says the deck was amazing, says the deck was awesome, also says that in both of his unintentional draws, he was 1 turn from winning the game. And against Josh Ravitz, he was 1 point of life from winning a game that he maybe could have played a little differently earlier. So I mean, in his head, if we're playing untimed rounds, he's 10-0. In his head. It's like, Steve,
at least 9-1.
Right. Like maybe you should play a little faster.
A little bit.
It's like, maybe we should switch VSL to 25-minute clocks just to train him up, right? It's for your own good.
Yeah, we're just going to polish this off.
To which Menendian's reply is perfect. He's like, if you add it up, I think Martel has spent more time than I have.
It's quite possible.
It is quite possible. I mean, I think Tom does some multitasking, but yeah, when he's playing Doomsday and like going into the tank and trying to figure things out from first principles.
In full disclosure, there has been at one point, David Williams had to call me because I fell asleep during my match.
Sure.
But so I've certainly eaten up some clock here and there.
That said, yeah, the 2 unintentional draws crushed Menendian. If either one of those turns into a win, he makes top 8.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just how it works. The other interesting thing now that the standings have come out, we know what the budget lists are.
Oh, great.
So what would you do if you were going for the budget prize? And the budget prize is, by the way, better than the top 16 prize. It was like 400 in credit, I think, for the best budget deck. Maybe it was 500 in credit for the best budget deck.
So,
and all the prizes were done in Card Titan store credit.
I mean, I think I go Merfolk, but I think that's the automatic answer.
Okay.
I might go like mono red with Eidolon of the Great Revels. Like, let's really punish the vintage players.
There is an Eidolon of the Great Revels deck, although it's Boros colored. Kind of a Boros-y Hate Bears, because you can get Thalia. You can sort of, the white Hate Bears base is pretty good and doesn't really use a lot of power. So
I was just thinking that so many of the vintage decks have like Mental Misstep and Gitaxian Probe. That, when you're bolting them, okay, pay 2 life to counter it, that's fine. But then you get Fire Blast and all sorts of crazy stuff.
So Matthew Curtis went 6-4 with Death and Taxes, kind of the mono-white version of the Hate Bears deck. Nick Cummings went 6-4 with a Boros version that did splash over for Eidolon. Ian McEwen, Infect at 6-4.
Now see, that's a spectacular pick.
Infect?
Infect.
Yeah.
Because I don't think like Berserk was quite on the list for no power.
It was not. You can play Berserk.
Yeah, and you get the Infect creatures, you get Invigorate.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great choice.
The winner, though, the best budget deck, and he doubled up. He got top 32, so he got I think it's 100 in store credit for top 32.
Oh, nice.
In addition to winning the budget list. 7-3, Chris Pankowitz with Landstill.
That one shocks me. I don't know what to tell you there. I mean,
4 standstills,
he
playing a control game.
Could have just taken a look at like what Ifro played in the VSL that he said he had a great Shops
pretty close, and took the power out.
It took the power out and just tried to ramp it up against Shops.
Pretty much. Yeah, a lot of very relevant lands in that deck. Crucibles, Stand Still, Ice the Game, win it with lands.
Absolutely.
So, the only 7-3 and wound up 32nd overall.
I really like Infect.
Yeah, it's a good call.
If I want to revise my plan for going in unpowered, it's probably Infect.
The other thing that I've been super impressed by today, so we've played 10 rounds of Swiss. It's only 9:20.
Yeah.
We played 10 rounds of Swiss in 12 hours.
We played 10 rounds of Swiss with Steve Menendian in the field.
He did add a bit. Both those unintentional draws were early. First couple rounds did last a little longer. And the room was kind of distracted by the Legacy top 8, the WMCQ top 8 playing out. It's been a really well-run event.
It has been great, and everybody seems to be having a very good time. Wow.
8 players left. I get the bracket up there again. Kelly versus Eberhardt. Who's your pick? Oath over Delver, right?
I think I have to pick Oath over Delver.
I think I agree with you. Mentor or Grixis Thieves?
I think
It's going to be a very skill-intensive game. I mean, there's going to be a lot of complicated stacks.
Grixis Thieves deck just goes so big.
I love it.
I don't know if the Mentor deck can keep up with it. I don't know. I mean, some things just like Consecrated Sphinx. I mean, I assume the Mentor deck is playing Plow. A lot of the Mentor decks seem to be bringing back Plow. So,
there's no way for Thieves to recover if a Mentor goes crazy, though, right? I mean, it seems like
that's the big issue. Like you just draw a piece or two of power, and the Mentor comes down. It's unrecoverable.
I mean, it seems like if Grixis Thieves can keep the Mentor off the table, they win, and if they can't, they lose. I think it's as simple as that. There's not even a sweeper in the sideboard. No, Toxic Deluge or what have you. There's an Engineered Plague. It makes you name monks, and now there's just the Mentor itself that you have to worry about.
But it still has
It's still his prowess. I mean, he can win, but I mean, a 1/1 prowess creature that doesn't spit off any monk tokens is
no, it's not very good.
Is manageable.
No,
yeah, he just has to keep his lightning bolt and 2 dismembers. Like, you can dismember the mentor and then probably deal with a couple of tokens that snuck into play.
Miko Koro's kind of won me over. Some kind of pulling for the.
I was already a Notion Thief fan, but I'm with you on the Miko Koro. Don't you also have a library though?
Maybe he just doesn't have a library. I don't know what to tell you.
Possible.
But I think Mentor's probably favored there. I think Mentor is the card in that matchup that has the highest possibility of just breaking the game wide open.
That's true.
And then, of course, Rich Shea, Paul Mastriano.
Keep talking.
And, I mean, it's just Hangerback Workshop versus Hangerback Workshop.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pick a favorite there. They're both exceptional players.
Aren't you going to pick Rich Shea just because of all the training he's gotten in our Vintage Super League?
No. They're just both exceptional players.
Totally true.
I mean, the big difference is Rich running Sword of Fire and Ice and 3 Triskelions, and his opponent is more Metamorphs and more Spheres.
Yeah, it's not quite a mirror, right? They're both Hangerback shops, but what are the differences in the lists? You just said, and I wasn't listening very well.
I don't think Rich runs any Metamorphs, which are
he has swords
extremely powerful in this matchup. But Rich also doesn't run Sphere of Resistance. I think he just runs Thorns.
Okay.
So
yeah, Paul's got just more of the restrictors.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 Thorn and 4 Sphere and 3 Chalice. 4 Lodestones, of course, Trinisphere, of course. Yeah, he's got more of that, which doesn't sound spectacular in the mirror.
No.
I think Rich with the swords might be in better shape here.
Well, it's weird. Like, I think the Metamorphs are incredible.
Rich has Ravagers that Paul doesn't have? No, Paul has Ravagers.
He has 3 Trikes.
Oh, Trikes. Okay.
Yeah, Triskelions and Sword of Fire and Ice are a big difference here.
But that does seem better in the mirror than Spheres, and
but not better than Metamorph.
It goes like Metamorph,
right?
Then the Trike, then the Sword, then the Trike, then the Sphere.
Yes.
So Rich has the middle 2 cards in power level.
So it's just a trade-off.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens.
The winner of that winds up playing. We have it as Brian Kelly. Right. If Oath over Delver holds the way it tends to, then it'll be Oath against Shops, which arguably goes to the Oath side. I don't know.
It's very close.
So here's what I think. I think the normal Oath decks are slightly advantaged versus Shops, although it's pretty close to 50-50. I think Brian Kelly has this super weirdo teched out Oath deck, and he's been taking advantage of opponents' mistakes because nobody understands what on earth he's up to. I mean, his strategy is bizarre. His cards don't even look like real Magic cards because of all the altars. Like, you just have people, I think, you have to expect people are going to make mistakes in a scenario like that where he's just attacking from these weirdo angles. I don't think Rich Shea or Paul Mastriano is going to make those mistakes.
Certainly not, but Oath is still just incredibly powerful. There's just nothing they can do against it.
Yeah, but I feel like either Rich or Paul beats. But Brian, he only has 3 Force of Wills. Brian Kelly only has 3 Force of Wills. Like, Shops is a matchup where you really want the 4 Force of Wills.
Yeah, it is.
Not a card advantage matchup. It's a just stop crazy things from happening early matchup.
But Brian gets to be on the play, all top 8.
Oh, it's seeded. That's a good point. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's a very good point.
I mean,
and it's Paul on the play against Rich. Okay.
Yeah. And then we have Sullivan Brophy versus John Grudzina. Who do you think is the favorite there?
I think it might be Dredge. Like blue-white control? Jeskai control? That doesn't sound like you're not gonna race a Dredge deck with that. Like, this is the reason you play Dredge is that you get these game 1s that are 90+% to win.
Right.
Like, what do you think John Grudzina's chances are of winning game 1 with this list? He has a Snapcaster, 7 Planeswalkers.
It comes down to moat.
Okay. If he can find the moat, and he essentially reduces the Dredge deck down to attacking with Stinkweed Imps, which Sullivan's proven he's capable of.
And Narcomoebas.
And Narcomoebas. Power flyers.
And maybe you can pull out the Elish Norn to make those a little bigger.
Yes, Sullivan Brophy does have an Elish Norn.
No, I mean,
no,
really.
You're right. You're totally right. Narcomoeba's now 3/3. Take it. Hit you with my Phantom Monster.
You can still bring the Flamekin Zealot out just to pump them up and send them in. Like, you can still do a solid 12 damage.
I'm laughing because you're right.
Yeah. So it's funny when Moat doesn't even finish it.
No, it doesn't.
So no, I think there's no chance game 1.
Right, but then Grudzina goes to his sideboard, and there's a Pithing Needle that can name Bazaar of Baghdad. There's 2 Tormod's Crypts. There's fully 4 Containment Priests.
Which, that seems particularly great.
You know what Containment Priest dies to? Barbarian Ring. It's almost like Sullivan Brophy's been playing this Dredge deck for a while and has loaded up his sideboard with answers to the opponent's
Looks
answers.
like he may have seen other people's tricks once or twice.
Yeah, no.
I don't think often he has to ring someone's face.
No.
but the Containment Priest, I think he's done before.
Yeah, totally agree. Also, what else is in here? Grudzina, yeah, no, he's got the Ingot Chewers for shops, the Wear Tear, the Mountain of Swords. Yeah, it's 4 Containment Priests, 2 Tormod's Crypt, 6 dedicated hate cards, plus the Pithing Needle, I'm pretty sure comes in to name Bazaar.
Yeah, I think almost certainly. I mean, I can't imagine Narset Transcendent after board. Or
Dak Faden.
I wouldn't have ever pictured it before board, but certainly not after board.
I tried Narset. It's so slow. Like, I could have a Jace for this 4 mana.
Yes.
I could have a Dak. Well, I can't have a Dak Faden for more less mana because he's already maxed on Dak.
Yeah, he already has 4 Dak.
I could have a Notion Thief, but I mean, he doesn't have black mana, I guess. Like, he's Jeskai color. What's he getting for red? Doesn't even. He has 2 Pyroblast main, and then probably
and
another more. Yeah,
and,
he's getting Dak Faden, Pyroblast. No bolts because he's got plows.
I mean, he does have 3 dig through times in the Treasure Cruise with 4 Dak Fadens. He certainly has a reasonable chance of getting to the moat, but I don't know if it's in time.
Right.
I mean, you have to have an incredible draw to cast those spells early in the game, and moat still costs 4. Dredge probably has you dead by then.
Yes. Still want to see the deck.
Yes, absolutely.
We have not gotten Grudzina on camera, so I think we start there. See if Sullivan Brophy can continue this just insane run from the Stacks Exchange to here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just great vintage player.
Yeah, people are saying, is Dredge really going to make a run? Like, there's going to be one guy. Like, the average Dredge player loses to 6 sideboard cards. The really good Dredge player beats you when you have 6 sideboard cards.
Right.
And there's always one. There's one guy who knows how to play against the enemy sideboard cards, and that's the guy that makes the run. His name is Sullivan Brophy. How close we getting to top 8 time?
Finishing up photos.
Okay, they're doing some photos and some profiles.
Okay, so if this goes the way we think, it's Brian Kelly versus Shops.
Yep.
Which?
And it's Dredge versus Grixis Thieves?
Grixis Thieves.
That one's pretty close. Grixis Thieves Mentor, I think, is actually the sort of closest, most interactive matchup in my mind. In this top 8. I don't know, I mean, Shop's Mirror is pretty close, almost.
I mean, I haven't really looked closely at the Delver deck. I mean, we're just going off of it being Delver. So.
It is a little bit interesting in that it's got white. It splashes white for plows, but not for mentors.
Delver, Pyromancer, 3 digs, a cruise, 3 gush, a couple of deck fadens.
Yeah, he's just got 2 tundras for 2 sorts of plowshares.
Down to 3 Gitaxian probes.
And then he gets Containment Priest from white as well.
A couple Graph Diggers cages, a couple Containment Priests, 2 Rest in Peace.
Sure. Yeah, he gets white sideboard cards, which are decent. And he gets swords.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I think there's more game there than a typical Delver deck.
Sure.
I mean, getting to plow none of the creatures he oaths up are immune to plows.
Oh, wow. That's true.
I mean, and only one of them draws a massive amount of cards.
Yeah, you make a good point.
So,
I mean, I love Brian Kelly's Oath deck, but at the same time, I feel like he's trading in some of the actual edge in exchange for the left field edge.
Right.
The Nikolai Herzog Darwin Castle attack you from these totally blindside angles that you have no idea how to deal with, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that does seem to be the angle he's coming from. So I'm trying to see if we can narrow this down to the early pick. Who's your early pick for winner?
Dredge.
That's fair.
I mean, I don't see... I mean, look, everybody's got half a dozen sideboard cards, but I feel like...
It hasn't seemed to slow down.
No, it hasn't. and like his
Sullivan
first
Brophy,
matchup looks great. His second matchup looks great. Like, the thing that Dredge doesn't want to play against is the combo deck, right?
Right.
It doesn't want to play against somebody that can race, like a Doomsday or a Belcher. Those are the decks that really destroy Dredge. You know, anybody with a Time Twister, anybody with the ability to race, none of these decks come even close to racing him.
Yeah, there's no Belcher, there's no Perfect Storm in this top 8.
No, right.
There's nothing that's just flat out faster than Dredge.
There's nothing that's even close.
No, there's nothing.
Right? I mean, the
even
Mentor deck
similar.
and the Delver deck are both attacking with creatures and planning to win on turn 6. I mean, I guess Bomber Oath can be fast, but only if he hits well off the Oath.
I don't know how, and quite literally, I don't know how well he has to hit. I mean, you have big lifelink creatures, you have, it just depends on how big the turn is that he kills him. Like, I don't think that the Dredge deck gets that turn where he just edges them out. It ends up being one of those turns where you bring back a Fate Stitcher and they kill you by 1,000,000. Like, they still win those games.
Yeah.
But the games where they're just dealing 22, that giant lifelinker might get in the way off and off.
Yeah, it is 2 giant lifelinkers, right? It's Drummika and Grizzlebrand.
And then there's it's just that.
Although that matchup wouldn't even happen until the final.
Right. And Brian Kelly certainly has a lot of work between here and there.
Right. I mean, the Shops decks aren't great against Dredge. Like,
Players are sitting down.
players are sitting down, by the way. Sitting down at the table, getting ready to shuffle up and play. We're not far away from the top 8 now.
I mean, both Dredge decks seem to have 7 to 9. Or both Shops decks seem to have 7 to 9 anti-Dredge cards.
Yeah, you got to. I saw an interesting question in the chat. Is building Dredge a good idea? I feel like this requires a very philosophical answer. It's an ethical question. Kind of.
See, I learn a lot just from playing the deck from that side of things. So
Sure.
if you really want to play Vintage, I think it's worth building a Dredge deck.
That's a very easy answer.
It's a great starting point, but
Yep. But do you want to join the dark side is a
it
much
depends
more
on what else you have
philosophical
access
question.
to. I mean, access to cards is a legitimate thing in
Yeah,
Vintage.
that's fair.
What's the biggest surprise of the tournament so far?
Biggest surprise in the tournament so far for you?
No Belcher or Perfect Storm, no decks faster than Dredge in the top 8. I just thought there'd be enough in the field and with those high variance decks that one would make top 8.
My answer? 458 players.
Yes.
That's my answer. This thing is gigantic. Just the percentage increase from last year in particular is just staggering to me and awesome.
Yeah, I mean, at no point in the last 3 or 4 years do I think you could have predicted the Eternal Weekend crowd to grow to this size.
Yeah.
It was just incredible.
What else we got in terms of questions?
Why you like Eco so much?
Somebody's
Where do you guys sit on restricting challenges?
do see a question about the Super Leagues that I would like to answer. Future of the Vintage Super League. I feel like the Vintage Super League must have contributed at least a little bit to this, which makes me really happy.
Yeah,
I feel like we put on a show that people have enjoyed, and I so many people this weekend come up to me talking about how they got into Vintage because they never thought they'd like it, but they watched it and it seemed fun.
Right. I mean, the turn 1 kill is really a giant boogeyman of Vintage.
Mm-hmm.
And you can watch us play Vintage Super League every week. And like you said, like 1 out of 50 games is a turn 1 kill.
Basically.
It's not.
There's a lot of play to it.
It doesn't happen very often.
lot of
All
cool
day
stuff.
on camera, it happened once.
A lot of interesting stuff. Yeah, we saw exactly one on camera. Reed Duke pulled one off. So the future of the Vintage Super League, I mean, right now we're doing a Standard Super League. We're about to go to Modern. We're going to do a Vintage Super League Championships coming up in October, November. But VSL comes back next. Like, when we get to November, we will have Vintage Super League, and we want to do the full round robin, 9 weeks, 10 players. We do need one more player. So what I expect will happen is that we'll do a play-in tournament to figure out who that 10th player is going to be for the Vintage Super League. And I don't know, some players might drop out. I mean, it is a fairly large time commitment for all the players in place.
Right.
So look, follow me on Twitter is the short answer. I'm R. Bueller on Twitter. When we get to October, I think we'll probably wind up running the play-in tournament on a night other than Tuesday, just so that we can run it in parallel and be ready to start the real league as soon as that
Right
Super
on
League
time.
Championship ends in November. And then, November, December, January, we kind of play out the next season of the Vintage Super League. The full season, the full round robin, the works. That's the plan. There is a Patreon campaign that I launched for supporting the Super Leagues. It's set up to support the Super Leagues in general, but I mean, I definitely am getting the message right away that people really care about the vintage Super League specifically.
Yeah, there might be slightly more people watching the standard Super League, but the fans of Vintage Super League love Vintage Super League. I mean, we got that message from the people watching Eternal Weekend. Like, standard gets the other 51 weeks out of the year. Please stop showing us standard.
Right. Right. It was interesting. I mean, Wizards asked me to run these standard Super Leagues, and I'm happy to. I love that relationship with the Super Leagues, the relationship the Super Leagues have with Wizards. So I mean, I was happy to kind of experiment, but I also at the same time feel like we're learning what the passionate part of the audience cares about, which is super interesting.
Where does Legacy fit in the Super League?
Where does Legacy fit into the Super League? I'm interested in experimenting with Legacy. Honestly, yesterday is the first time where I really started thinking, wow, maybe this is like Vintage, where there aren't necessarily as many people who are gonna tune in to watch it. Like, there's this giant army of standard players that will just watch whatever standard content you put up on Twitch, but there really is no Legacy content. And I do want to experiment with Legacy. I mean, I feel like I definitely want to find a way to get some Legacy content baked into the Super League to try that out and find out how big that audience actually is. So yesterday for me, 744, that was eye-opening. I mean, I feel like there's a potential long-term home for the Super Leagues where it's just serving this eternal audience that doesn't get as much love from some of the other tournament series.
All weekend. You get one weekend a year.
So the Patreon right now is set up for all Super Leagues. I totally get that there are people that kind of only want to support the Vintage part of that. You can either wait for October when I say that the Vintage is coming, we're going to start the play-in tournament, or you can also sort of come in with maybe a smaller pledge and just tell me on the Patreon feed that's what you're doing. I don't really want to support Standard, but I wanted to support the idea of Vintage coming back as soon as possible. Right. I definitely had some people do that so far, which has been nice.
Is there any non-Dredge deck that seems well positioned right now?
Is there a non-Dredge deck that seems well positioned right now? I mean, I
think a ton of the decks are in great shape.
I think Combo would do well in this top 8.
Yeah.
If it could have gotten here, like there's 2 shots decks, they get paired against each other. TPS, like the way Reed had his Storm deck built, or the Belcher deck that we saw Danny Batterman, I think has the best list of so far. Either one of those, I think, could crush this top 8 if they could have gotten here.
Right. And Vintage is still Vintage. There is a lot of variance in Vintage, no matter how you look at it.
Definitely.
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of perfectly reasonable tournament viable decks.
How does it feel to be the 93-94 champion for this?
How does it feel to be the old school champion
for Eternal Weekend?
For this Eternal
Awesome.
Weekend.
Yeah.
That old school tournament on Friday, I feel like that's going to evolve into another big event, right? There are so many people that were like, wow, next year I got to make sure I'm there on Friday. I got to make sure I build a deck for that. That was great. Yeah, I mean, it's Eternal Central put that together. Jaco was the TO, and I think that he's got the format in a pretty good shape where he's got, there's a restricted list, and it's a little weird that Mana Drain is restricted and Strip Mine is unrestricted, but it actually leads to this
it's one of the
replayable format, right? It's not just, here's the nostalgia of Magic like it existed in 1994. It's more, there's some depth here. There's, multiple different archetypes that kind of interact in interesting ways.
I think leading in, you and I are both very skeptical of unrestricted Strip Mine.
Yes, 100%
and I think after watching the way that day played out, I think they're correct.
Yeah, no, I get it now. Basically, the argument for unrestricted Strip Mine is that it helps the aggro decks, and even with unrestricted Strip Mine, control's the best. If you restricted Strip Mine, control gets even better.
Right.
So give the aggro decks the ability to mess with your lands. I get it. It's probably correct.
Right.
But that's old school. We're done with old school for now.
On to Vintage.
We're heading down for the Vintage quarterfinals. Sullivan Brophy, the Dredge Master, already won one giant Vintage tournament this year. Can he run it back?
So he has a Serum Powder out already, and now he's mulliganing.
John Grudzina on a Jeskai deck is just like, keep mulliganing. Come on, just go to one card. Don't find your Bazaar.
And he's sending his hand back as well.
Sure. Yeah, I know I was calling that old school tournament 93-94 Magic. I think old school is just a way better name. I'll stop calling it 93-94 Magic.
I think people within that format, I think there's actually slight differences
there are.
between the two.
Absolutely. Well, part of it is that, like, the originators of the closest thing to this format over in Europe, they play with a different number of sets legal. Like, they don't allow Fallen Empires. Some of them don't even allow the Dark. Some of them require that the actual cards were printed by the year 1994. So there's 93 Magic, there's 93, 94 Magic. I think Jaco started just using old school Magic for his flavor, which is the only one I've seen played stateside. Right. So I'm just going to switch to that. Old school Magic, that's the format.
One question we got was, what do you guys think of Hangerback Walker after this weekend?
Oh, another question. Hangerback Walker is a big story. I think Hangerback Walker has proven that it is vintage viable. There are multiple decks in this top 8 with Hangerback Walker in Shops decks. Like, it's a real card. It is a relevant threat in the Shops decks. Is it the best way to build Shops? I mean, the data so far says, yeah, probably.
I mean, walking into the weekend, I thought it was just a bad way to spend your mana. Mm-hmm. It didn't actually advance your game plan. But I think I've been swung a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it just gives you more play. It certainly takes some of the other lines away from your opponent, like the pulverized line.
Right.
Some of the other things that can threaten you just aren't as big of a deal.
All right, 6 cards apiece. Do these guys get to keep these cards?
Well, if Sullivan Brophy keeps, I can probably name 1 card in his opening hand.
Yeah, I think that...
there's the Bazaar on the far left.
All right, he's keeping. And yeah, there is the Bazaar. And I think that even Sullivan Brophy, who has this like crazy discard to hand size tech that we saw in the last round of the Swiss, I think that's an after sideboarding when you've got a handful of removal and are playing against workshops.
I think that's
I don't think
after
that's like
sideboard against Shops tech.
with a handful of ingot chewers.
Right.
Ooh, Library of Alexandria.
But he mulliganed. This is not.
Good point.
He also serum powdered my.
He's on the draw, so he will get to activate it on turn 2. It's almost like Library on the play.
Right.
Library on the draw on the mulligan. But yeah, here's Bazaar. Grave Troll heads to the yard. Finds Narcomoeba on Icarid. Now the Thug is the best thing, but he also hit a Stinkweed Imp. So Sullivan's off to the races.
Well, he gets to discard here too. I mean,
he gets to discard.
Thug is on its way back.
Oh yeah, and the Grave Troll will be throw in a bridge for good measure. Sure, don't want that in the hand, want that in the yard. Draw step, Dredge is a troll.
Another Narcomoeba, a therapy, another
2
therapy.
Therapies. Yeah, so he's got Cabal Therapy, Bridge from Below, already online.
Yeah, his opponent's going to just land cards left in his
Library's
hand.
never getting activated for a card. Now, does he have a land? Yes, he does have a land. So here's Bloodghast. The land that's Petrified Field, right?
Yes.
And that's the one he sacks for the Cabal Therapy. Because he can get it back next time he plays a land. Now, what do you name? I mean, you kind of want your Dread for Return to resolve eventually, right? Wow, so that's land, Misstep, Pyroblast, and...
Flusterstorm?
I think so. Either that or a second Misstep? I think it's a Flusterstorm. So, blanks.
Even after the card he drew for his draw step, that's a little bit of a loose keep against Dredge.
The real zombie holding.
Sure. Yeah, it grabs the Misstep. Sure. Now, Sullivan Brophy's probably out of stuff this turn. No, he's going to go ahead and therapy another one. All right,
he's just coming back for the Flusterstorm.
Sure.
Just not having any of it.
All right, good luck, John Grudzina. You have nothing. Your hand is land and the preordained that you top decked. GL. A Pearl and an Island.
Push them both.
Bottom. Anything? Force a Will.
With no
blue card. Oh, how about
Here we go.
Dredge. Icarid trigger on the stack. At least I think there's an Icarid. Dredge Stinkweed Imp for Stinkweed. Icarid. Dredge this other Stinkweed. There's another Bridge. There's a Flamekin Zealot. Dread Return is now lethal, I believe. I think the Bloodghast was the thing I thought was an Icarid the first time. No, there's 2 Icarids. And the draw step goes for a Grave Troll, another Bridge, and another Narcomoeba. Haven't seen a Dread Return yet. Dread Return for Flamekin Zealot would just end this game right now. Game is all but over anyway, right? He's attacking for 12, and...
Oh, he gets another Bazaar activation. Go dig for the Dread Return.
Yeah, that Bazaar brings the Bloodghast into play and lets him dredge some more. So Dread Return is lethal, and there's nothing in John's hand anyway. it's not clear there's any way John could stabilize next turn. I guess Moat. There's the Dread Return. So that should do it.
Yeah.
Dread Return.
I was actually looking at that Pearl that he pushed with the Preordain. I'm like,
keep it for Moat?
the Pearl give you an out to draw a Moat? But not really. The Narcomoeba just...
The flying Narcomoeba. Not even Moat seems good enough. All right, what did you draw last turn? Ball Therapy you. I drew Force of Will. He even named it.
Yeah, he even named Force of Will.
And Sullivan says, now I kill you. Dread Return, sack some guys, make a million more zombies. They're all hasty, they're all +1/+1, and crunch. Sullivan Brophy wins game 1. Now that's what he was expected to do. Now, that game was a blowout. It was a complete blowout, but it was also
as it was meant to be.
Thoroughly expected. When you play Dredge, you're counting on a lot of these super easy game 1s where your opponent just doesn't have the ability to really interact with your version of Magic.
There's just not very much you can do against that game 1.
Now you got to get one of the sideboarded games. You got to slog through 2 Tormod's Crypts, a Pithing Needle, and 4 Containment Priests, and try to get a sideboarded game. How much of Brophy's sideboard do you think he brings in?
Well, I mean, certainly the rings.
Barbarian Ring sounds great against Containment Priest. Ingot Chewer, Nature's Claim. Wisp-Mare to blow up a Moat. I don't know. Do they have their deck? Did they have each other's deck lists? Do we know? I know that the deck lists have been typed up, so the players have all been given deck lists. Yeah, it makes sense. Well, Otherwise, scouting is just...
You don't need the ley lines at all.
4 cards are easy, but like you have 12 sideboard cards, all of which you could hypothetically bring in. I don't think you actually bring in the Wisp-Mare. I don't think.
Elish Norn seems bad.
Elish Norn seems bad. Right, but now your deck is... You have to make your deck weaker.
Right.
You have to make the core of your deck weaker in order to have answers to your opponent's sideboard stuff. Which, look, Sullivan's proven to be a master. Mm-hmm. He's proven that he can navigate all these tricky waters.
Well, I mean, if he looks at an opening hand and I see a Wisp-Mare in it, I will be convinced that it's correct.
I don't buy that.
I mean, I don't know anybody who can bring themselves to play Dredge so much to be such an expert.
Ifro was trying it for a while.
Yeah. I think he eventually got a win.
No.
Oh, no, not so much.
No, he managed to lose a playoff game. He managed to 0-3 and then lose a playoff game to not get the 1 seed that year because he played Dredge four rounds in a row.
Yeah. Well, happens to the best of them, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of those. He was just mathematically, he should have won multiple of those matches, so he had to keep running it back to make the mathematical point.
Oh, I mean, even when he was playing against me,
I know.
Ancestral, and I had to hit like Petal Ritual. Mm-hmm. But I got there.
What fraction of an out is it when you have to top deck Ancestral into 2 specific cards?
Right, because I think the Lotus was gone. And I was trying to get a will
something
off
crazy
or something,
like that.
And yeah, I think I could hit Jet or Petal and the Ritual.
Got there. Yeah, the post-sideboarded games are the most interesting games with Dredge. I actually think post-sideboarded games with Dredge are quite interesting.
I agree.
You have to get beyond that initial, like, this is Magic, but then the strategies are kind of cool. It's threats and answers to answers.
I'm just so impressed that he won the stacks, and he's here again.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. Any games over on any of the back table matches yet?
Any updates on the back tables? And let me know, any good.
Sounds like we don't know anything else.
Not yet.
Not yet.
They're all 3 in game 1.
Everybody's still in game 1?
In game 1.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it was
Not everybody kills as fast
kind of a blowout.
as Dredge.
Was the other reason to start on this match. It's probably going to be pretty fast.
And there's also a good chance it was our last chance to put John Grudzina in the future match. I mean, he has to pull off the other 2 games.
Which is his plan against Dredge?
Just everyone's playing against Dredge.
Pretty much. Well, except the combo players.
Right.
Who were like, awesome. Dredge can't counter my combo.
Right.
I'm faster than them.
How is this format different from last year?
Interesting. There's a question from the chat about how this format differs from last year.
One big difference is 3 of the treasure cruises.
Yeah, last year was at a point where unrestricted treasure cruise meant Delver was just everywhere.
Everywhere.
The Delver strategy was so ridiculously efficient.
Yeah, I had every intention of playing a different deck until I decided I at least want to play in one vintage tournament with 4 treasure cruises. And it was just as crazy as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And then, which then opened up this window where the Oath decks could feast on all the Delvers. There was like 4 Delvers in the top 8 last year, I think.
Yeah, it was
so then the Oath deck won?
Like 2 Oaths, 4 Delvers, 2 workshops.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Something along those lines.
Mike Herbig just won game 1.
Mike Herbig has won game 1, so defeats Robert Green. That is Grixis Thieves losing to Mentor.
There's just no way to catch up, no way for his deck to catch up against a Mentor.
Yeah, that game seems like it does revolve around the card Monastery Mentor.
Yeah.
I mean, there are more changes from last year than just the restriction of Treasure Cruise. Do you think that Hangerback Walker's been proven relevant?
Yeah.
But I mean, Monastery Mentor's been printed. That obviously put one player into this top 8, and there were certainly plenty of them here as well. Saw some Dark Petitions floating around, which is a pretty interesting change. That's very recent. None in the top 8, but I mean, Reed Duke had one on his Storm list, and then there was a 4 Dark Petition Storm list floating around the late rounds as well.
Both players sending it back.
Okay. Where are you on restricting something out of the shops deck? You're in favor?
I am in favor.
Chalice?
I've heard so much argument in favor of being Chalice that I can't really argue with. So I haven't really put any thought into it. I don't really think it should be Lodestone, and I don't think it can be Workshop.
Right.
It's just too much.
But something should chip away at the power level there.
Well, I mean, when you look at everything else that gets, that's the other card that gets played all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, my reason for, so I am pro restricting something, just take a little bit of the edge off. Don't restrict the Workshop, don't restrict the Lodestone Golem, but take something. I think Chalice is the right card because it's so uninteractive.
Right.
Like, Chalice says you don't get to play in a way that, I'm on the play, oh, I dropped Chalice, you can't play your Moxen. That's just, those games are not fun.
I agree.
And, Chalice locking out answers is also just, it just leads to these annoying game states in a way that, you can slog your way through Spheres and Thorns and even Lodestone Golems. You can kill them, you can play enough mana to pay for them. Chalice is the one that just shuts off modes of interaction. And
Well,
and exacerbates play draw
Very
sometimes.
similar to Trinisphere, which they did.
Yep, exactly.
How will it affect your favorite aggressive decks, though?
I mean, you can make the case that Chalice, the role Chalice plays in something like a Merfolk deck is sort of fair and interesting. Like, there are sometimes you see these aggro decks that play Chalice so that they can Chalice 1 or 0 so that they can kind of get an edge up on the beatdown decks. Sorry, that the beatdown decks can get an edge up on the broken decks, which, I mean, I'm sympathetic to that argument, but I don't think that...
There were also some decks that played Treasure Cruise in a fair way. It didn't mean it was a good idea to leave all 4.
Agreed. Yeah, no, those decks will get a little bit of splash damage from the restriction of Chalice, but I still think it's the right thing to do. My opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not like we can get into conditional restrictions. It's like if you have Mishra's Workshop in your deck, you can't play more than 1 Chalice.
That'd be kind of a hilarious policy. It's like a nightmare to try to explain to any new player.
Yeah.
Sullivan's Serum Powder Mulligan.
Okay, there's a Serum Powder Mulligan.
I mean, Grudzina being down to 5 here is just tough. It's tough to get enough resources to stop the Dredge player.
But he may also just be mulliganing for hate cards, right?
Right, but that's even exactly what I'm saying. Like, on 5, you have to get the hate card and some sort of clock to keep them from destroying your hate card.
Yeah, but if you don't have a hate card...
I'm not saying it's wrong to keep mulliganing. It is just difficult to win.
It's better when you draw perfect?
You have to get lucky.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Do you think Sullivan Brophy is a favorite in this game?
Yes.
Like post sideboarding with John on the draw? I mean, on the play?
Yes.
Was just a favorite in both sideboarding games, or only because he's a favorite only because John mulliganed to 5?
I actually think he is just a favorite.
Wow.
I think he is prepared for the hate that people have brought in against him.
Wow.
And I just think he's a favorite.
Mastriano took game 1.
Paul Mastriano has taken game 1 from Rich Shea. Definitely 2 of the biggest names in this top 8.
Yeah, you'll see their sideboarding: 3 Ghost Quarters versus 3 Crucible Worlds. Or Crucible, yeah. 2 Dismembers on one side, the 4th Metamorph on the other.
Dak Faden. 8 Planeswalkers in this control list for John Grudzina. It is not well set up against Dredge. He has 4 copies of Dak Faden.
2 Jace and Narset.
7 Planeswalkers. I missed
Is it just 2 Jace?
2 Jace, 1 Narset.
Okay. Still, 7's a lot.
And it doesn't match up particularly well against Dredge. Especially, I mean, what all the decks do here is cycle. They fill the graveyard, they fuel the delve cards, digs and treasure cruises.
What is the card in his hand next to...
Is it Jace?
Next to Jace. It is Mental Misstep.
What?
No, he's looking for the Nature's Claim.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But he's discarding it to Dak.
Yeah.
Yeah, Misstep gets better after sideboarding against Dredge because so many of their answers to your answers are 1-mana spells. Countering Nature's Claim is a very real thing. And I mean, sometimes countering a Cabal Therapy is relevant too.
Oh, upkeep. Just, he doesn't have a Dredger.
Swing and a miss on the Bazaar?
Or at least he hasn't decided to. Yeah, I think this is just the effect of coming off of a couple of mulligans.
Swing and a miss on the Bazaar. Is his draw step also going to be off the top?
Thug? No, that's not a thug.
Yeah. Found the Bazaar, but 0 Dredge cards.
If this isn't a second Bazaar, he could actually have a reasonable amount of time.
It's a Barbarian Ring to bring back 2 Bloodghasts.
Yeah, I mean, he's just digging, looking for that moat.
Sure.
Even this right here, I mean, it's tough. There's already 2/2/1s in play.
Dak continues ticking up. So you got Jace Mana Crypt? Is that his hand?
Yes.
It's pretty good.
I think there's a dig in there.
I don't think you need Mana Crypt here, right? I don't know.
I think you just need to, right now, maybe you need to keep seeing cards. You just pitch the land in the Mana Crypt and get Jace out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, if you keep the Mana Crypt, you're discarding either Jace or Dig, if that's actually what's in his hand. And I think Jace and Dig are the 2 cards you really want here.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I think you just put Jace out there, you brainstorm the Jace.
Is that better than digging?
Well, I think you want to be able to dig with some mana up at some point. Whereas, I mean, you can have 1 mana up here, but I don't know when you get back to casting Jace. I think you just want to be brainstorming Jace, so it's fueling the deck in the future.
Jace does just die to Bloodghasts.
Well, versus, I mean, Bloodghasts are, after that, have to start attacking Dak, which is just buying you time to find some sort of hate card.
I'm just saying digging gives you much quicker access to the hate cards you actually are looking for.
Sure.
He runs out to Jace.
Maybe he just wants to Fate Seal. Yep.
Ha.
So that it doesn't die either.
Oh, don't you Fate Seal Sullivan? Yeah, make sure he doesn't draw a Dredger, right?
He left it on top. There's what, 6 cards in his deck he leaves on top here?
Fair. Alright. Icarid comes out.
Uh-oh.
Still no Dredge cards.
Planeswalker that's...
So what, Jace, kill Jace, chip away at Dak? That's the plan.
Yeah.
Sullivan Brophy calmly. I've seen it all before.
Yeah.
A couple planeswalkers, totally normal magic. Here's Cabal Therapy. Against one card. Did not guess Dig Through Time. Curious to hear if we know what he did guess.
His therapy was from Moat.
Moat. He said Moat.
Because there's only one white in play right now.
Yeah. And it's the card he lives in the most fear of. So.
And I think that is actually the most reasonable card, because leaving something on top, if that card in your hand is Moat, it's any white source is staying on top.
True. Wow. Ingot Chewer. Down goes Mox Ruby. In comes another zombie. Bridge from Below and Ingot Chewer are friends. Icarid and Bridge from Below, also friends. What did John Grudzina leave on top? Mox Ruby still sort of taps for mana this turn. It's a Delve card. Leaves the Jace behind. Delves everything else. See some Force of Wills. Is that Containment Priest? Is the white
Probably
card?
Containment Priest. Also has a white land, but I mean, Containment Priest is non-token. There's another dig there. Because you can also deck.
Counts up. What am I being attacked for next turn? 10? 13 with the Icarid?
Attention attendees. The Eternal Beacon prize will be closing in 10 minutes. If you still have prize points, please go redeem them now.
Kept the Containment Priest.
They will not be able to be redeemed.
And a land so that he can get white mana. Deck ticks up, of course. Let's see a couple more cards.
Containment Priest dig in his hand, hits Ponder land. Land certainly goes. I feel like we're beyond the point for Containment Priest right now.
Interesting. He kept it off the dig. But, I mean, it's better
Otherwise,
than
it was
Force of Will.
Force of Wills and whatnot.
Yeah, it blocks better than Force of Will does.
It does indeed. I mean, it looks like you're staring down about 13 next turn. Maybe an activation from the Barbarian Ring, 15.
You're not actually dead, but you only have one more turn.
Right, but the Containment Priest it's just not changing the math at all right now.
It's 2 turns anyway. I mean, if he sends 4 points at Dak, maybe it does. No, it doesn't. Yeah, Sullivan has this in 2 attacks.
Yeah, which is why I just think you need to ponder here. Hit something in the top 3 or send it away.
Yeah,
And then hope
I think I agree with you. I think you're just digging for moat and hoping you survive long enough to untap and play it.
Right, I mean, ideally, you see moat off the ponder and you hide it.
Yeah. Here's the
Force of Will,
ponder.
Tormod's
Tormod's Crypt. It's too
Again,
late for
I
that,
think
right?
we are too late for Tormod's Crypt.
I mean, you can get a bridge and an Icarid, but there's 10 power.
Yeah, it just doesn't change the math again.
Note, by the way, Sullivan Brophy hasn't drawn a dredge creature.
No,
He hasn't dredged once.
This is just bizarring and discarding.
Bloodghast and Icarid and a bridge from below.
After board, he has no problem playing off the top of his deck.
Yeah. John reshuffles. Tormod's Crypt, no good. top deck. A blue, a Tormod's Crypt.
Hey, at least there's not 2 Force of Wills on top of his deck
Yeah.
right now. I don't know if you leave that in your hand for the deck. Probably not.
No, I think you play it.
Well, I mean, it's just if you're digging for moat, like
Interesting.
Nature's Claim.
Undiscovered to Nature's Claim the Tormod Crypt and make him blow it. He does get the Icarid and the bridge, but Sullivan's happy to just get past the Tormod Crypt portion of the
If
festivities.
you take the life, does it change the math?
Funny. I don't think so. It's still 2 attacks. Sullivan taps his Bazaar, and still no Dredgers. Actually drawing cards with his draw step. That's not the way this deck is designed to work. Kills the Dak Faden and deals 6. Now, sacrifice a Blood Gas to a Cabal Therapy. Who knows what you name? He's probably still named Moat, right?
Probably still named Moat. Dig is in play here.
Could name Dig. Did not name Dig. He named Moat again. Makes sense. Undiscovered lets him replay get the Blood Gas back. Also gives him the red mana for Barbarian Ring, although he does not currently have Threshold. Tormod's Crypt did turn off Barbarian Ring, in addition to killing an Icarid and a bridge. All right, Dig. This needs to be Moat Lotus.
I mean, Moat Containment Priest?
I mean, Sullivan actually
Because
doesn't
you just
have...
drop it and block?
Right. I mean, the way the board plays out right now, Sullivan Brophy can attack for 10, dropping Grudzina to 2, and he can't quite... I mean,
Plow helps? There's a Supreme Verdict there?
Oh, interesting. So he does have 1 sweeper. But I mean, it's possible that John could get another turn.
Is that a Time Walk? Like Time Walk Moat, also exceptional.
Or Time Walk Supreme
Time Walk
Verdict is
Supreme
decent.
I mean...
The Blood Gas are going to come back, but...
Right, but he's not below 10, so they're not hasted.
Right.
Unless he takes a ring to the face before the land.
There's no Threshold.
landfall.
It only
When
has
the-
that
when the-
ability when you have Threshold.
When the 2 Blood Gas go to the graveyard and then you Bazaar, there will be Threshold.
Okay, he will briefly be at 7 if the Blood Gas die. I can't believe that matters, but it sounds like that matters.
Is that a Pithing Needle?
It is.
So Verdict and Pithing Needle?
There's Supreme Verdict. Here's
Okay.
Pithing Needle. You
Do
need
you-
Bazaar. You need
No.
Bazaar.
Was there Threshold there?
No. He can't use the ring, right? He doesn't have Threshold.
He doesn't have threshold.
Is that... we might just be miscounting here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, he didn't
No,
have
we were not
Threshold.
miscounting. Lack of Threshold, indeed.
I was on that development team. Those were Threshold lands. All right, but Undiscovered, of course, brings back Blood Gases for days. Pithing Needle has in fact named
Now
Bazaar.
we're going off the top here. He looks at his graveyard, so it's either absolutely nothing or possibly another dig or a treasure cruise. Yep, dig.
John Grudzina may
Chugging
actually
along.
have turned the corner here.
He's playing Magic again. I
How
feel
has he
like
not
he's
turned the
still
corner?
in a lot of trouble here.
He's turned off Bazaar. There's 2 Blood Gases. That's a 3-turn clock, and you're playing Vintage.
Fair. No. Maybe he has turned the corner.
Shea 1 game 2.
Ah, Rich Shea has evened things up. We're going to get a game 3 between Rich Shea and Paul Mastriano.
No, I mean I'm just thinking about the number of cards Dredge can draw just to blow up the Pithing Needle and just crack this wide open.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the number of cards that Sullivan's drawn, none of which have Dredge. Like, it's kind of crazy that he's played this entire game while just drawing cards for his draw step. and drawing and discarding with Bazaar, and he just found so little.
I mean, the Barbarian Ring not having Threshold was a big deal.
Yeah, because the Bloodghast would have had haste.
Yes. Boy, this is tough. Was that Preordain and Tormod's Crypt?
I
You
didn't
just
think.
grab the Crypt and you Preordain next turn?
Somebody just finished their match. I can hear applause.
What was the result?
Bloodghast attack John down to 8. And here's Tormod's Crypt.
Keep digging for that moat. Pushing both landmarks and Ancestral.
Yep.
Kelly won his match.
Sounds like Brian Kelly has defeated Ryan Eberhardt.
Now, see, this is when you start incrementally getting back in the game. That plow helps a lot.
Sure.
Is it Snap? Does he have one Snapcaster? Yes, there's one Snapcaster, and that might be what he drew there. So, with the Crypt out, I mean, Plow, drop Snapcaster, Ancestral myself again, block your Bloodghast, Crypt them both.
Actually, he turned the corner. I'm telling you.
I think the Ancestral turned the corner, but okay. Yes, he has
he'd
turned
already
the corner.
turned the corner. There's Swords to Plowshares.
No, get that out of the game. There we go. Just take the 2. No fear. No possible way this Dredge deck will ever activate that Barbarian Ring. And it, you know, actually, it's probably just it's not actually Snapcaster. It's very hard to see from here what those cards are.
It is Snapcaster.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, he might just prefer to dig versus Ancestral.
Maybe. Or Cruise. Leaving both the Plow and the Ancestral in his yard.
Oh, hitting another Plow. And a Force of Will.
Bloodghast have been fighting the game fight. The good fight. Fighting gamely. Not good enough.
Deck more
Just
salvage.
not good enough. An awful draw from Sullivan Brophy. I feel like it took an awful draw, too, for John to be able to win this.
Yes.
His draw hasn't been particularly good versus a Dredge player. How many Bazaar activations with no Dredgers? 4?
Many.
5? John's deck doesn't exactly win quickly.
And now he has Containment Priest. Not that it does, I mean...
It
guess-
attacks.
It attacks to start closing this out. I mean, I guess he has enough mana now to start casting Icarid. 5 mana. What costs 5? The Troll.
He played attack more salvage so that he could hard cast Golgari Grave Troll.
Which is
does not
probably
miss an angle.
1/1 right now.
It's just the Narcomoeba.
Why don't
Plows have been.
why don't you just Crypt him in response?
Crypt does kill Golgari Grave Troll.
Yeah, hard cast Force of Will? I don't know.
Grudzina's deck.
Actually, no, excuse me. You don't want to Crypt him in response, because then he just dredges with it.
Yes.
My apologies
Keep it
for
alive.
not thinking that one all the way through. Yeah, you'd much prefer just... Actually, you don't want the Containment Priest to play to block it. you're kind of committing to just taking one turn here. Or plowing it.
Have you looked at how Grudzina actually wins the game? His main deck has one creature. It's a Snapcaster Mage. He's winning with his Planeswalkers.
I like it.
He's just Planeswalker Ultimate. That's all I've got.
Yes.
Deck you with Jace. Steal something with Dak Faden.
Yep.
Dak Faden is his primary
Cast
victory
something out
condition.
of your deck.
Dak Faden is his primary victory condition. Hilarious.
No. I think Jace is his primary victory.
It's 4-2. Dak steals stuff a lot quicker. Dak's Ultimate lets you target things with Pyroblast and steal them.
Yeah. Fair.
Wonder how many things he's stolen with those main deck Pyroblasts. Dak's Ultimate being...
I'm guessing it's less than we want it to be.
Wow. Containment Priest, that's the biggest creature on his list.
Yeah. There are 4 power and toughness distributed on that fellow. It's the biggest creature on the board.
Now here's Dak Faden. Up. More cards.
And still tasked with getting through Dredge on the play. After all the, I mean, working very hard to turn the corner, get control of this game.
To send
still
it to game
staring
3.
down the barrel of being on the draw against Dredge. Sullivan Brophy has to pick up 3 undiscovered paradise. Has drawn another Bazaar. Sends it in for 1. Okay, so he does have him to 4. It's one of those things, if he can discard the hand size once and get another Barbarian Ring.
No. Really?
What do you mean, no? I wouldn't have played that undiscovered back onto the board.
Tormod's Crypt shuts off Threshold, you know. If he gets close to Threshold, Tormod's Crypt just blows him out.
But it doesn't check on resolution, right?
Well, you don't let him get to 7.
I just have to believe eventually he's hit a Dredger. Like, he discards a Dredger to hand size, it gets crypted, and then he can discard another one. I mean, if he leaves that Troll on D, his opponent's not attacking.
Yeah, that's a good point. Troll seems like he wants to play defense, especially now that he's got John to 4.
Okay, now he's decided he wanted the second red into play, so if he does come down to the Barbarian Ring plan. I mean, you can attack with the Containment Priest here, let him block, and then just crypt them.
Why are we still playing this game?
Because he took 1 from Golgari Grave Troll. Haste creature.
Haha, hasty Bloodghast. No, Force of Will.
Well, fine, he's just gonna lay a land.
Play a land, hasty Bloodghast.
Do I get your crypt? No, I don't get your crypt.
Oh, Containment Priest. Grave Troll. Snappy's not blocking? No, sir. Wouldn't want to let the Grave Troll die. But now Grudzina's at 3.
Yeah, now he really wishes that Bloodghast was still in the graveyard, just at least working towards Threshold.
Yeah.
Not that I think there's any real chance that Dredge wins this, but I mean, you gotta come up with a line. If you're still playing this game out, you have to have some sort of plan.
No, I think putting the Bloodghast into play is the better line. You're hoping your opponent misses their Containment Priest trigger.
Okay, that's fair.
I think that's more likely to happen than this Threshold Barbarian Ring plan versus a Tormod script.
What's the debate here?
This is the craziest, weirdest, grind fest.
Oh. I thought we decided to start stealing things.
There was a question about the ancestral that got cast. They got flashback. They investigated and said it was fine. I don't know. I don't know anything more than that.
Oh, was Grudzina gonna get decked?
There's like 8 cards left.
It's kind of funny. The limit to what Dak can do here. This deck is not exactly high on the victory conditions.
No, now we're talking about taking that one, putting you to 2.
Really? He's got another Containment Priest in his hand. He can flash out a blocker for the 1/1 Grave Troll. This does risk killing it, however. Alright. Can he hardcast an Icarid? Are we getting to that portion of the game? He's going to hardcast a Stinkweed. Okay. Stinkweed Imp. No. Force of Will.
Attack for 1.
Now there's a Dredger. Containment Priest. Block.
Yep.
And yes, count. You gotta whack that graveyard with Tormod Script, right?
Yes.
Deck for 6. Man, this matchup is so bad for John Grudzina. It's taken him 50-some cards from his library. He's down into the single digits of cards left. He's assembled this motley crew of 2-powered dorks to attack with. He's gone through multiple Tormod scripts. He says go?
An undiscovered bounces. He announces the Dredge.
Okay, you have to announce that you're going to Dredge? Don't you put your draw step trigger on the stack and then choose his replacement ability? I don't think you get to... Yeah, I think you have to whack the graveyard before the draw step. Now, we go to game 3. 6 power versus 5 life.
I mean, I don't think it matters at all, but I think you really wanted to bounce that other undiscovered.
I think we've passed the point where discarding is useful. I think hardcasting things is your only chance, but no.
Fair.
John Grudzina evens things up. Well, we are on to game 3.
Your opponent's threw 53-something cards. I don't think hardcasting anything is resolving. Look, there's no outs, okay? We're just arguing over which outs are worse.
Sure. What a crazy game. Took the entire deck. Took all the time. Multiple Tormod scripts. And this is all because Sullivan never saw a Dredge creature at a relevant point in the game.
Right. And
what a nutty game.
Never saw Moat.
That's true. Oh, he was in the bottom 7?
No, I mean, and he had to dig twice?
I guess he reshuffled.
Oh, sure, yeah.
He must have.
So, I mean, you're talking about a dead zone of like 3 cards in his deck that had the Moat in it.
Sounds right.
I think Sullivan Brophy is going to have to check. There is a Moat in his deck, right? I don't have all these anti-enchantment cards for no reason.
I don't know that he wanted to play the Moat at the end of the game, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got control of the ground. He's attacking with 2/2s and a 2/1.
Yeah, they're gigantic.
Bigger than that 5-drop on the other side.
I'm going to the bracket.
All right, let's look at the bracket. Take stock of where we're at. So we've had one result come in, right? Big round of applause. Brian Kelly, definitely another one of these fixture in the vintage community guys. People were happy to see him win. Took down the 1 Delver deck. Stock in Delver has definitely fallen since last year when Treasure Cruise was unrestricted, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last update I heard on the Mastriano Rich Shea match, they're going to game 3.
Probably well into game 3 at this point.
Should be. The Herbig Robert Green match, is that also in game 3?
Yeah. they're all-
Okay, that's also in game 3. I hadn't heard the game 2 result there. But a pair of 3 game 3s.
Everybody in game 3.
Brian Kelly is through, and 3 game 3s. The winner of the matchup we're watching, will play against either Mentor or Grixis Thieves. Brian Kelly, meanwhile, knows that he will be playing against Hangerback Shops. The question is which version? They're about, what, 8 cards off? 10 cards off, something like that?
Yeah, right in that range. Yeah, the differences are the Swords of Fire and Ice and the Triskelions versus clones and spheres. All right. So, go through all that work, and you're looking at it like, I just have to be able to get past Dredge on the play one time. One time, come on. Come on, mulligan to 0. I mean, the 4 Tormod's Crypts certainly help a lot.
Yeah.
Because even if he sets Bizarre Go, you drop a Tormod's Crypt, and you really challenge him to have the right mix of cards in his hand after sideboarding in whatever anti-hate cards he needs. I mean, we saw in that game how many times he Bizarred without hitting any Dredgers.
True.
So I think after sideboarding to get in all of the anti-hate cards, he had to go down on Dredge creatures.
Quite possibly. Maybe like the Thugs left the deck.
Right.
I doubt you would pull Grave Trolls or Stinkweeds.
No, I don't
might
think
be
you
down to
probably
8
either of
Dredgers.
those. But 8's not a lot.
No, plus we saw the land. Stack more salvage is maybe the 9th.
I mean, there's only 11 Dredgers main. Oh, yeah, actually, there's the lands as well.
How many Darkmoor Salvage does he have?
Most people have 2. He has 1. Sorry.
He's only the 1, yeah.
I think definitely right for the 1 over the 4th Thug. Not that that's necessarily where you're making that decision.
Seven cards for Sullivan Brophy. How many of them are bizarre?
They're all bizarre as far as I'm concerned.
Bizarre. Not bizarre. Answer appears to be 0.
And that one's going back.
Anything else the chat wants to talk about while we watch this? Shuffle cam.
I mean, think about how different that game is, that it's on camera, and they went back on that ring.
Sure. He wouldn't have necessarily taken the Grave Troll hits, though, if they'd been lethal.
Oh, I'm just saying it's different. Mm-hmm. It's very different texture to that game.
How are you still awake?
This is magic.
This is great.
We're still awake because magic is awesome to watch.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
Also, there's a coffee shop 3 minutes away.
I mean, I certainly hit a low and in the middle of the Swiss rounds, but now I'm excited. I mean, this is the vintage champion. It's once a year.
Definitely. Sleeping is for the plane ride home.
Why is there no vintage lands?
Why is there no vintage lands deck? I mean, Landstill is kind of a vintage lands deck. You can definitely play Landstill in vintage. It functions similarly. I mean, it's not usually the dark depths, Thespian stage shenanigans that we saw in Legacy yesterday.
So in Legacy, we saw what happened when lands ran into Omnitel.
Yes, we did.
But instead, you're facing
ugly.
down Dredge and Storm and Belcher and Oath. What do you do against Oath?
Right. I have seen a little bit of Dark Depths Thespian stage in Dredge decks, actually.
Yes, post-sideboard, it was a big tech idea coming into this event. It happened a lot in the grinder.
I don't think it's actually very good. It's like 5 turns, it's super slow, and you have to draw the combo. All right, well, we're off. Sullivan does have a Bazaar.
He's decided the Time Walk was enough. He was hoping to hit a white land for his Containment Priest. He has missed. And
So he kept, a 6-card hand that could play Time Walk
6-card
on
hand
turn
with
one?
a turn 1 Time Walk.
Didn't work out.
No.
Yeah, turn 1 Time Walk and a Containment Priest, but couldn't find the white mana. So Bazaar found, did we actually find a Dredger?
There's a Wismer and 2 lands, no Dredger.
Wow. So during his upkeep, he's going to tap the Bazaar again, hoping to find something he can dredge
Still no
on his
Dredger,
draw
just
step.
draw step.
And he doesn't find it.
This is just getting crazy.
Yes. Yes, it is. Ancestral Recall.
Here we go.
Yeah, look at John Grudzina pick up his pace. He's like, wow, man, I bricked on that white mana for Containment Priest. I thought I was
3
dead.
more mana, but none of it blue.
Wow, a red and 2 colorless?
Right, those 2 digs in his hand.
And
Not
a Jace.
very exciting.
Still no white mana and no second blue mana.
Upkeep.
Dredger?
Stinkweed.
Stinkweed Imp.
We have found
got
an imp.
there. All right.
Imp
draw
acquired.
Step.
Another
Bridge,
imp.
Grave Troll, Grave Troll, Cabal Therapy. All right.
Oh boy.
Now Dredge goes off to the races. Does he have a? Oh, he has the second Bazaar. Second Bazaar is gigantic. He's gonna fill the whole yard
Where
up.
did that second Bazaar come from?
His hand. He had it in his opening draw, and he chose not to play it on turn 2.
I am no Dredge expert, but I would think you just want to keep dumping in the grave.
Oh no! He probably drew it off the Bazaar during this upkeep. That's what he probably drew it.
There we go.
That's where he drew it. All right, 2 Icarids. Did we see a bridge go by?
Yeah.
How many bridges went by? Just the one? We'll find out. See how many zombies this therapy makes. Therapy makes 1 zombie, so 1 bridge. What do you name? Do you name the moat? Do you name the Force of Will? I think John should misstep it. Yeah, misstep it so he doesn't get the information of what to name next time. And Sullivan's already ready to name something else. The other Narcomoeba turns into a zombie, and how about this one? You got another misstep for me, or can I name something?
I think you just Force Will this one? Oh, actually, the Force Will was before the mulligan.
What did he
names
name?
Dig Through Time.
Oh
He nails
my God.
3 of them.
Oh my God, that just happened.
He says Dig Through Time, and he rips his opponent's hand apart.
That just happened. He named Dig Through Time with a blind Cabal Therapy and got half of John Grudzina's hand.
Game boys.
Now, I mean, a white mana for Containment Priest is still a relevant thing. Tormod's Crypt off the top would be a relevant thing.
Oh, I think he kills him this turn.
Even blue mana for Jace would have been relevant, but yeah. Wow. Blind name Dig Through. It turns out it doesn't matter because he's
Nope.
the second blue.
He could have all those cards back in his hand.
Was still impressive.
Getting to see the hand. Oh, very impressive. Getting to see the hand was exceptional.
Yeah, he
But
sees that there's nothing relevant.
the game is over this turn.
All he has to do is find any way to get a creature into play, and then Dread Return Flamekin Zealot. There's the Flamekin. We saw a Dread Return, so he needs a Narcomoeba or a Bloodghast, which he's almost certainly spilled by. There's a Bloodghast. There's a Narcomoeba. And the third creature is just because Dread Return's cost is sack 3 creatures. Now, only the real creatures generate tokens. There was an Icarid trigger on the stack this whole time.
He gets the deck more
land
salvage.
because he wants a land to make sure that he can get his Bloodghasts. Pretty smart.
Yep.
That's what the 1 Dackmore Salvage does. Sometimes you just need to make sure you play a land drop to get your Bloodghasts back. Now there's a bunch of Bloodghasts, which he can sacrifice to Dread Return to generate a zombie for every bridge.
We're going to go through this piece by piece, and that's fine. Slow down.
All 4 bridges. That Narcomoeba is worth 4 copies, 4 zombies. Yeah, checks the hand. You didn't top deck a way to break this up, did you?
3 Bloodghasts for Flamekin Zealot.
Dread Return,
Attack
Flamekin
you
Zealot,
for a lot.
Sullivan Brophy, ladies and gentlemen, through
Wow.
to the semifinals. Man, that was whiffing off that first Bazaar, too.
Yeah, just
He spent all of
totally
game
missed on the
2
first Bazaar.
bazaring and failing to find dredgers, and he whiffed on the first one this time, but hit on the second. Not only did he find Stinkweed Imp, he also found a second Bazaar.
I mean, if you're Sullivan, bro, you're sitting there just not like this.
Seriously,
Not like
right?
this. I mean, if his opponent hits the blue mana there and just gets to start digging, like, who knows what happens? I mean, once he hit the Dredger, I mean, he was really off to the races.
Right. Yeah, John Grudzina not super well set up for Dredge, and he got punished. He's out. ties for 5th here at the Vintage Championship. Still, top 8 that he gets to have
Great
on his
finish.
resume forever.
Yeah.
Absolutely great tournament, great resume. Kind of a cool deck. Like, he's so light on the victory conditions. It's just pure control.
It is. It's great.
certainly-
Planeswalker control.
Certainly appreciate. But now, a couple other game 3s. Probably, can we not get any of those to our cameras at the setup? Yeah, they are
They're already well into game 3.
embroiled in their game 3 on tables that do not have cameras pointed at them, unfortunately. So we will definitely try to get you some updates on what's actually going on with Rich and Paul and what's going on with Michael and Robert. But I do not think we will be able to get those on camera.
Well, Sullivan Brophy will be going first again.
On the other 2 matches?
Oh, wait, no. He's playing the winner of 2nd and 7th. So maybe
Yeah, it
not.
depends.
But they're still in game 3.
Yeah, they're still embroiled in game 3. Can we get any radio updates?
Any juicy bits? What are you looking at?
Should I take a lap? I can walk over there, come back, report back on the game state. Is that what we need to do? You're in charge, Bob. I'm going to go check out these game states, bring back word.
Absolutely. I'm sure the people want to know.
Try to keep them
I
entertained.
want to know. So we're looking at the matchup of Mentor and Grixis Thieves and the Shop's Mirror.
Mastriano and Shea, there's a well-developed board. Lots of Thopters, lots of monks.
Word has it there are many Thopters and Permanents and just 2 well-developed boards on either side of the Rich Shea Paul Mastriano matchup, which I have no idea who that favors. I mean, I would think the person with Ravager Triskelion, but anything can happen.
Paul just swung with everything.
Oh, Paul on the alpha attack, so I'm guessing this game is over one way or the other.
Bunch of laughing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems really hard to be that far ahead in that matchup to just be able to alpha, but there's so many unknowns, I don't think you alpha without having a way. Well, we'll find out soon enough. An alpha strike will certainly bring that game to a close. People in the chat have a few questions. Does anybody play Belcher in Vintage on Mitgo? Yes, there's plenty of Belcher on Mitgo.
Is Oblivion Sower a real card?
Oblivion, so is that the new Eldrazi that they previewed?
I think so. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what's in the rest of that set to see how often cards get exiled.
Walkers were just declared, and abilities are forthcoming.
Going to be a few fast effects.
Is there a viable vintage infect deck?
Well, so we saw in the unpowered list Infect getting second prize. So I would imagine if you put the power into it that there is a little more play in the deck. So what do you have to report? I heard there was an Alpha Strike in Rich's match.
Yeah, Paul Mastriano, both players have Thopters in play. Like Hangerback Walkers have died on both sides. But Paul's been on kind of the front foot. He's got a Batter Skull, and crucially, he's got a Ravager. So his Alpha Strike included multiple Thopters. One Thopter's getting through unblocked, there's a Ravager, and so Paul's doing math. He's like, okay, I think that, like, we just heard the burst of applause. My guess is that Mastriano was able to eat enough artifacts to have the Ravager plop enough +1/+1 counters on top of the one unblocked Thopter to deal 9 and win the game. And is that what we heard, Matt? Paul Mastriano won? Yes, Paul Mastriano just won.
So he just had to dodge a dismember.
Yeah, Ravager ate half his board, plopped enough +1 counters on an unblocked Thopter token. Like, some of the Thopter tokens got blocked by Rich's Thopters.
Right.
But not all of them, unfortunately, for Rich. So Paul Mastriano is through.
Right, now we're just down to Mentor and Grixis Thieves.
So that game is super deep. Like, their graveyards are gigantic, their libraries are thin. Dak Faden Emblem on Michael Herbig's side. So he
boy.
So, and he has a sudden shock, but the problem is Robert Greaves is just on Planeswalker. Like, you can't actually sudden shock a Planeswalker. You target the player and redirect the damage to the Planeswalker. That doesn't work. You don't get to steal the Planeswalker. He actually, Herbig played a sudden shock to try to steal a Jace, and then, that doesn't actually.
Yeah, that does not target.
No, you can redirect damage to Jace, but Dak Emblem does not trigger. You don't get to steal the Jace. So Jace is sitting there with, the sudden shock had been played, so I think that knocks Jace down from like 7 to 5 loyalty, something like that. It looks to me, and Robert Green's also sitting with kind of Notion Thief in his hand, so the sudden shock being gone is also good.
On both sides.
It's Dak on both sides, but
a Jace with 9 counters.
Jace is up to 9 counters now. I think only Herbig has the emblem. Like, he has a Dak and a Dak emblem, if I'm not mistaken.
Herbig has the emblem, right?
I think Green, though, Jace Ultimate may be the thing that winds up winning that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
For Robert Green. And like I said, he's got a Notion Thief in his hand if he can set that up, but Herbig brought in Sudden Shocks to try to deal with that plan.
Right, and Sudden Shock seems like a great card to deal with that, to deal with Mentors, to deal with a great many things. Sudden Shock seems to be well positioned in Vintage right now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So much for the turn once, huh?
Interesting. So yeah, that game looks like they've been at it for quite a while. Huge graveyards, but 3 Planeswalkers total.
Vintage Magic at its finest.
Yeah, it's like 3.5 Planeswalkers, Dak plus Dak Emblem versus Dak and Jace.
Now, is the emblem from that Dak?
I think so.
Working overtime.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably how that works. But yeah, it doesn't look like he's gotten to steal anything particularly juicy. It's funny, Pyroblast could actually target the Jace, but it would accidentally kill it.
Yeah.
I just want to target it. So we're down to those guys. We should probably just get Brian Kelly and Paul Mastriano set up on the camera table, right? Roll straight into the semis here. Pretty sure the assembled staff would like to finish this tournament.
Yeah.
They've done a great job of moving things along so far, but some tear down that's still got to happen too.
And we've seen Dredge against, the white blue red or blue red black style. Like, the Dredge is probably gonna have a very
it's a similar matchup, right? Dredge probably wins game 1, and then what happens after sideboarding? I want to see Brian Kelly. I know he's also very popular. I want to see Paul Mastriano with Hangerback Shops. One of the storylines here this weekend for sure.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things like Rich Shea and Paul Mastriano, just vintage mainstays. We would have liked to cover either one, but it being the shop's mirror, we knew we'd get one of them in the next round.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I was a little bit surprised at how long the Control versus Dredge took. Like, if Sullivan had just hit some Dredgers in game 2, we could have moved over one of these other matches and gotten it on the camera. Well,
that's exciting.
Sometimes you play it right and get punished anyway.
I wish I could see the Planeswalker Control matchup.
You can take a lap. I can entertain the masses. Bring us an update. You're all right.
I'll go see how this one finishes. See if there's any interesting stories to tell.
All right. Feed me questions. I'll hold down the fort. So yeah, last remaining matchup. Michael Herbig on Mentor, Robert Green on Grixis Thieves. Love that Grixis Thieves deck.
Can we talk a little bit about it? We have some questions in the chat about
Please, feed me questions.
Talk to us about the Grixis Thieves deck.
Oh, talk about the Grixis Thieves deck? Sure. So the Grixis Thieves deck Similar to what Josh Ravitz was playing. We actually watched this on camera a couple of rounds ago. It was Robert Green. He got paired against Josh Ravitz. He gave Ravitz his second loss. So 2 copies of Snapcaster Mage in the deck. 2 Notion Thief it's kind of the coolest thief. Notion Thief combos insanely well with Dak Faden. The idea is that you get Dak Faden down, and now Dak's Plus ability says target player draws 2 and then discards 2. Well, if you target your opponent with Dak Faden, target player draws 2 and discards 2. Notion Thief says whenever the opponent would draw a card, instead you draw it. So Notion Thief steals the 2 cards, but they're still on the hook to discard 2. So you just destroy people. When you get the Greatest Thief in the Multiverse and the Notion Thief, you just get to destroy people's hands. That is the key combo of the deck. But Robert Green's actually gone next level here. In addition to that combo, he's got a Miko Koro, Center of the Sea, where he can make both players draw a card. Oh, Notion Thief means, sorry. By both players drawing a card, I meant I draw your cards. I draw 2 and you draw 0. Pretty nice. He's also got a Consecrated Sphinx in the deck, which anytime the opponent would draw, he gets to draw 2. So all kinds of sort of crazy cool synergies with those, half dozen cards, kind of the icing of the cake, the cool part. The rest of it is, it's a Grixis Control Shell, Force of Will, 3 Mana Drain, Flusterstorm, Pyroblast, creature removal in the form of a Bolt, 2 Dismembers, and a Deluge. He's got the Time Vault Voltaic Key combo. He's also got Tinker for Sphinx of the Steel Wind built in. Kind of the usual suspects for a Grixis-y control. A big blue control deck, right? Mana Drain control rather than Pyromancer, Delver style. 2 Jaces, the restricted stuff, Ancestral, Brainstorm, Vampiric Ponder, Cruise, 1 Dig. He does have a Yawgmoth's Will and a DT out of his Black Splash. He's got the Walk, and then, the jewelry. Lotus, Moxen, Crypt, Soul Ring. Land, including a Miko Koro. No library and 61 cards, which I feel like maybe you could clean that up and come up with a slightly better version of the deck, but I love the deck idea. I love the idea of Notion Thief comboing with Dak. Notion Thief also combos with your opponent's stuff, right? If your opponent plays a Brainstorm, respond with Notion Thief, right? Now you draw the 3 cards, and they still have to put 2 back. Same thing with your opponent's Jace, right? You Notion Thief, your opponent's Jace just destroys them. And we saw that's how he beat Josh Ravitz. Josh kind of suspected Notion Thief when he saw Miko Koro, but he felt like he had enough to fight. Jace activation, Notion Thief is response. Josh wound up being unable to stop the Notion Thief from coming into play. Game 3, Josh activates his own Dak Faden. Notion Thief is response, and Josh could not stop it from coming into play. Yeah, Vault Key is basically a victory condition in a deck like that. If you assemble those 2 cards, you just take all of the turns, win at your leisure with whatever. So, that's Grixis Thieves. I think it's a super cool deck. And yeah, always had a soft spot for the Mana Drain decks. I feel like Vintage Blue, if you look at what we've been playing in the Vintage Super League, certainly we've all kind of skewed toward just cheaper cards, right? Delver, Pyromancer, a bunch of cantrips, Flusterstorm. Mana Drain it might be too slow for the format, but I don't know. I hope decks like this are right, and you can play Mana Drains. There's 2 different Mana Drain decks in this top 8, so I like it. I want there to be Mana Drain decks in Vintage. I think Vintage is just in a healthier spot, in a more diverse spot, when you can play sort of cheap cantrippy blue decks with Pyromancer, Young Pyromancer, or you can play Mana Drain blue decks with kind of bigger stuff.
There was only 4 Delvers in the top 8. Was that more or less than you thought?
1 Delver deck in the top 8, 4 copies of the... So the question is, how many Delvers? Is this sort of a surprisingly small number of Delvers, surprisingly large number of Delvers? I don't love the actual card Delver of Secrets. I think the card Delver of Secrets is only truly good against the Shops deck, where you want to play a 1-mana guy that you can attack with relatively quickly. I did expect to see more Young Pyromancers in this top 8. I think Young Pyromancer is the best card, the best unrestricted card anyway, in the quote-unquote Delver decks. And we really only have the 1 Young Pyromancer deck, which, yeah, that's below where my expectations would be. I'd say that is less than I would have expected.
What are some archetypes you wish were viable in Vintage?
What are some archetypes I wish were viable in Vintage? The Mana Drain decks are actually the ones that I felt like I wanted, if I could sculpt the Vintage metagame, if I got to just kind of nudge things around, I would want to make Workshop weaker, and I think that would naturally make things better for a deck like the Mana Drain decks, the big blue controlled decks. So I'm happy these are here. It's exactly the kind of style of blue deck I would like to be able to play. Rather than just, cantripping to spit out elemental tokens, I'd rather be the guy sitting behind the grip of counterspells and just actually gaining control of the game rather than playing a tempo strategy. So I want there to be actual control decks rather than just tempo decks in blue, and hopefully they're right.
Is it possible for us to destroy the semifinals?
And Bob has gone to check in on our last match. We have 3 of our quarterfinals done. We're just waiting on the result of the 4th quarterfinal. I hear a big burst of applause, so I think we have a winner. Is it going to be Michael Herbig's Mentor deck or Robert Green's Grixis Thieves heading into the semifinals to take on Dredge? Which is it?
Green.
Robert Green. So Grixis Thieves, love it. Mana drains through to the semifinals. Although, I don't think this mana...
No.
Sometimes it's gonna be cool.
I don't know that this mana drain deck is going to have a much better matchup against Dredge than the last one we saw. It should be a little bit better. I mean, it's certainly capable of winning the game faster, but
Yeah, go ahead and get him.
definitely going to have Delver.
Mulligans and everything like that.
All right, Bob, what'd you learn? You got to see
Okay.
the ending?
So I walked over to the Jeskai player having 9 counters on his Jace.
Okay.
5 counters on Dak Faden.
This is Robert Green. Grixis Thieves, sounds good.
No, the Jeskai player had.
Oh, the Jeskai player had a Jace now.
Yes.
The Mentor guy.
Yes.
Okay.
But no cards in hand
Okay.
because the Grixis player
Dak, Notion
has
Thief.
Dak with 4 counters, but he has a Notion Thief in play.
Wow.
So it looks like they had just worked this out. The Grixis player, but I look at the Grixis player's hand. It is Tinker, Mana Crypt,
Okay.
Time Vault,
Okay.
Vampiric Tutor, Snapcaster.
So you should be able to take all the turns from here against an
right,
opponent
but
with no
but they've
cards.
obviously just worked through this. There might have been 1 card in his opponent's hand. His opponent on his turn
Okay.
digs, looks at 7 cards,
Wow.
digs again.
Good. Okay.
There's only about 14 cards left in his deck anyways.
So looks at his deck, takes 2 cards, a card to dig, and then 2 cards.
Plows the Snapcaster,
The Snapcaster or the Notion
or
Thief?
the Notion Thief. Sorry,
Notion
sorry.
Thief. Okay, Notion Thief down.
Fate Seals,
Okay.
getting his Jace up to 11 counters now.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's his plan, is the ultimate on Jace.
Sure.
Dak Fadens himself, and it's just in the tank. Ends up discarding Plow, Mental Misstep.
Okay.
And he has 2 cards in his hand, so maybe he started that turn with a card in hand, but he has 2 cards in hand, says go. His opponent doesn't have any untapped black mana at the end of turn. So, untaps, goes Vampiric Tutor, gets Mental Misstepped,
Okay.
so he says, okay.
Sure.
Draws his card, Force of Will.
Okay.
And then it just becomes,
They've turned the lights off on us. Keep going.
apparently 11 p.m. is the cutoff.
Evidently.
So he plays Mana Crypt, it's Time Vault, and everyone goes, is this happening? Is this really happening? And he taps his last mana to the top,
Okay.
and then says, okay. His opponent tinkers. He taps the top, Force of Wills the tinker,
Wow.
and then Snapcaster comes down to flash back the Flusterstorm to take the rest of the turns and kill him with the Snapcaster.
Kill him with the Snapcaster. Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was incredible.
That's a great game. Wow, so Michael Herbig was able to get out from under Dak Faden Notion Thief